Jason Swain, touchdown.
It's time for the Swain Event with your host, Jason Swain.
My man.
Real sports talk for the real sports fan.
All you chumps are gonna bow when I whoop them.
It's time for the Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue.
Get into his mouth and a Ric Flair.
Swain Event fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. 865-255-03, Swain Event hotline. It is the best day of the week. It is Tuesday, October 31st, 2023. Ben McKee, Go Vols 247. I'm Jason Swain, live here from the Low T Center studio. We appreciate everyone joining us this morning. A lot of good things going on right now, Ben McKee. What's up, man?
Good morning. How are you?
Man, I'm great. Look at you, man. You're back in Knoxville after crisscrossing the South and I guess Midwest because you were there at Michigan State's arena in East Lansing. Are you well rested? You ready for today's show?
No, not at all. I am not at all well rested. I am somewhat rested. It was a very, very long weekend. Not a fun drive from Lexington to East Lansing. I mean, there's absolutely nothing from Dayton, which is where I drove to after the football game on Saturday night. Nothing from Dayton, Ohio to the Ann Arbor area, and you're just passing nothing but fields in northern Ohio, and you get into Michigan, and they just have random construction lanes all over the place and give you no warning that these lanes are coming up. So that was not a fun drive, but we're doing okay. It was a good weekend for Tennessee athletics. Tennessee with a very, very nice win over Kentucky on Saturday night. Tennessee basketball with what I think was a statement win on Sunday in what was technically an exhibition. But Swain, I can tell you from being in the Breslin Center, it did not at all feel like an exhibition at all. That was very, very, very fun, very competitive. Felt like a NCAA tournament game, to be perfectly honest, and I'm not exaggerating. It really did. It certainly felt like a middle of the conference schedule, high intensity conference game with a lot on the line, whether it's Big Ten game or an SEC game. It certainly felt like that. So I am tired this morning, but it was cool to check off Michigan State basketball off the bucket list. The atmosphere there was very, very cool. The arena, the Breslin Center, was very nice. It was smaller than I anticipated, but very intimate. They've done a good job, kind of like Auburn, of striking that nice balance of not building too big of an arena, but also not too small of an arena. And I don't want to say it's as small as Auburn's arena, but it was intimate. And they do a good job of packing that out, and the atmosphere was very cool. So it was cool to check that off the bucket list after Tennessee football picked up a very important win on Saturday night.
Well, absolutely, man. It was good to see you on Saturday there in Lexington. It was a game that was not what I expected in terms of how Tennessee got to the W. I felt like Tennessee would get the W and win, but that's why we love the game of football. This is why we love sports, because you may have a expectation of what you're going to see, and then you totally see something different because each game is its own. And in the case of Tennessee's win, 33-27, which before the game I did the UT alumni tailgate and was asked to give my score prediction. I said 34-28. Had Tennessee covering, but pretty close there on the score prediction. I didn't think that Tennessee would shut down Ray Davis and force Ray Davis to have his lowest input of the season. I mean, this is a dude that went went crazy on Florida for almost 250 yards on the Gators, but could not muster up anything consistent versus Tennessee. Could not muster up more than 2.6 yards per carry. Could not get more than 50 yards in a football game. So kudos to Tennessee's defensive front seven, the secondary, getting in there and mixing it up. I felt like, Ben, that Devin Leary would have to have his best game as a Kentucky Wildcat throwing the football for Kentucky to have a chance to win. And they had a chance. They were so close, but not close enough. 372, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Devin Leary was dealing and willing. It was his best night in blue. But Tennessee took another step forward, Ben. Another step forward. Tennessee had 4th down stops on defense. They had 2 scoring drives before each half. The 4-minute offense at the end of the game was a clear sign of this offense improving, taking another step, and the quarterback, Joe Milton, taking a huge step from his performance last week or 2 weeks ago versus Alabama. And so in the last 3 performances, we've seen Joe take these steps. We saw the receivers, Ben, that have been fairly criticized for our lack of playmaking ability on the outside, with or without Brew McCoy. But we saw playmaking out there from Dante Thornton. Welcome to Tennessee, Dante. 3 catches, 63 yards. Did a really good job of working with the quarterback during the scramble drill. Just so many good things, man, from this football game. And I know we have an hour and a half to discuss it. We'll take phone calls, 865-255-03. The Swain Event text box, a.k.a. the Beatty Chevrolet text box, is open for you to comment, ask questions. The best part of the show is being able to provide a platform for folks to share what they feel without being talked down to. That don't mean I'm gonna agree with you, but you can get it off your chest. And
you can voice your opinion, but just be ready to show your work.
Oh yeah, for sure. And again, don't mean I'm gonna agree with you. And you might want to come correct as far as the respect. I've never understood this from college football fans. And notice I said college football fans. I didn't say one fan base. I never understood from college football fans that you have a team. This is your team. You've been cheering for this team for years. You support the players when they're great, when they're making plays, when they're winning. But if they're not playing up to your standard, why do you treat your own players worse than opposing players? I don't understand that. Why do you treat your own players in a way that is better, worse than you would treat the player from Alabama or Florida or Georgia or Tennessee or LSU or USC, Florida? Like, it just does not make sense to me at all. It does not make sense to me. If anyone deserves grace, it should be the players of the team that you root for. If anyone deserves the benefit of the doubt, it should be the players on the teams that you root for. I've never understood why you would treat your own, so poorly. It doesn't make sense to me. There's a lot of good in this football game, and guess what? This may sound new to some folks. There's a lot of things to correct. There is not a perfect game, Ben McKee. We rarely see perfect games. Because in your eyes, what you think is perfect is not perfect. There is between 70 and 90 plays on offense, 70 and 90 plays on defense. There's, 30 to 40 plays on special teams. Maybe a little less. Not all of those plays are going to be perfect. Not every player that's playing on those units are going to have perfect grades. It's about winning your matchup when it matters most, or winning your matchup most of the time. You wouldn't believe this, but Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't win every matchup. He doesn't. But he wins a lot of them. and the ones he wins, he capitalizes. So you take the best receiver in the country, Marvin Harrison Jr., Ben, and let's say Ohio State's running 30 passing plays. Is Marvin Harrison winning 30 reps?
No.
Because if he was winning 30 reps and the offensive line was doing their job and the quarterback was doing their job, Marvin Harrison would have 30 receptions in a game. Because why would you throw it to anybody else? You wouldn't. But it's about winning the matchups when it matters. And you're going to make mistakes. And you're going to lose some. It's about winning the right ones at the right time the majority of the time. And Tennessee was able to do that on Saturday.
Well, and the criticism right now of Joe Milton is just ridiculous. Has he played poorly at times this season? Absolutely. But he has not played poorly the last 2 weeks. And there are some of you who just want to criticize Joe Milton just for the sake of criticizing Joe Milton. Joe Milton cannot do anything well in your eyes, regardless of what takes place. You have already predetermined that every positive play on offense is because somebody else does, and every single mistake on offense is Joe Milton's fault. And the past 2 weeks, especially on Saturday night against Kentucky, you simply look ridiculous by thinking that Joe Milton played poorly or criticizing Joe Milton's play. Some of you are just predetermined that it's all Joe Milton's fault. And I just don't understand how you can watch him play on Saturday night and not think that he played well. And it's kind of ridiculous, Swain. I'm trying to be nice about it. And you hit the nail on the head. I don't understand how you can pride yourself on being a great, loyal Tennessee fan, but you throw your own under the bus as quick as you can.
Yeah, it ain't just Tennessee. That's why I was speaking in general.
It absolutely is not just Tennessee fans, but this is a Tennessee show, and we're talking about Tennessee football for an hour and a half. So, and that's the criticism that we are referencing. It's not just Tennessee fans. All fan bases have their few that just talk out of the side of their neck, both sides of their neck, just time after time after time. There were Alabama fans last year who didn't think Bryce Young was playing that well. Like it happens. It absolutely happens. But we covered Tennessee and we're talking about Tennessee for this hour and a half. And I just there were some on social media, the message boards. Swain, you were shocked when I informed you on the sideline on Saturday night that some people were criticizing Joe Milton, and then you got a little taste of that yesterday on social media. But it's just, no matter what Joe does, Joe is in the wrong to some, and it's mind-boggling how you have just made up your mind because of things in the past that won't allow you to see that he is actually playing pretty well in that particular football game. I am somebody who said I didn't think Joe Milton was good enough to go down and play well enough to win on the road at Alabama, and he played well enough on the road at Alabama to give Tennessee a chance to win, and he followed that up by delivering a terrific performance against Kentucky. Offensively, a near perfect performance. I mean, there were very, very few mistakes from Joe in that football game. It's why his performance was, from a completion percentage, from an efficiency standpoint, it was one of the most efficient games at the quarterback position since Josh Dobbs in 2016. Again, just from a pure completion percentage, according to Bill Martin on Saturday night. So it's just baffling, and if you can't tell, it's a little frustrating too.
I'll say this last thing, man, because I don't want to have to feel like I'm preaching to fans, but this is what I've seen. What are we, week 9, going on week 10? Where are we? Week 8, week 9, week 10?
I don't know. No, they're what, 6-2, 7-2.
We are 6-2, so week 8, and I have seen the criticism of certain players, and some of it been fair. I have critiqued our units in certain play here and there. That's part of it. When you play football at the University of Tennessee, that comes with the territory. And even more so when now you are part of the NIL and you're able to earn some money. I think it allows criticism to come your way a little bit more, but there's always a line, there's always a limit. But I've sat back the whole season and just kind of watched everything. And Joe needed to play better, as well as other folks needed to play better. But I understand the quarterback, the responsibility comes with that position. In the last 2 weeks, when Joe has played winning football, I haven't seen anyone come to his defense that I felt like they needed to. Coaches can't. Coaches can't. You saw what happened with Dabo yesterday when a coach really speaks his mind. Like, that's a lose-lose situation. A lot of things that Dabo was saying was 100% right. The decision to say it was probably wrong. Not going to help Dabo at all. But no one from Tennessee can come out and just defend Joe Milton. Because it's a bad look. Because you don't want to be labeled as Butch Jones. You don't want to be labeled as someone that's paying attention to what fan base is saying when it comes to all criticism. I get that. So I'm looking around like, man, who got Joe's back? And I was like, you know what? Man, I guess it got to be me. It got to be me. And if folks want to criticize me, that's fine. That's cool. If you want to. I don't know why. Because I'm the first person to point out when he needs to play better. But I'm also going to point out when he's played well. And that's being fair. That's being consistent. I was the first person to congratulate Joe Milton, or one of the first people to congratulate him after the game. And, man, I gave him a hug. I told him I'm proud of him. I'm happy for him. Because he's played through injury. He has played under pressure. He has not had the ideal career, but he's continued to fight. He doesn't get in trouble. He ain't been perfect, but he's gotten better. He's improved. And when you wear that orange, like I'm gonna have some grace for you. I'm gonna have some empathy for you. Like, I'm gonna give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm gonna call a spade, just like I said Dante Thornton. got to catch the football last couple of weeks, and I felt like he was pressing. But I'm the first person to tell him how happy I am for him, how proud I am of him, how he continued to work. And when his number was called, he made a play. When I played here in Tennessee, man, it was all about that brotherhood. It still is. And guys that played before me, I looked at those guys as big brothers. And I got 2 younger brothers. I am big brother in real life. But I looked at those guys as big brothers who were older than me. And guys who are younger than me, they look at me as big brother. And one thing I disapprove in the media, NFL, NBA, is when guys finish up playing, they get a microphone in their face, and they start ripping the current players, calling them trash and garbage. I'm like, yo, you was once that player. You had some big brothers. You had some guys you looked up to. There's a way to critique without being disrespectful. You got a job to do. I got a job to do. Bing has a job to do. But there's a way to critique. There's a way to analyze the game without personally tearing someone apart. Because you ain't trash if you playing at that level. You ain't garbage if you playing at that level. You just need to play better. You just are in a rut. And several guys on our team, Joe included, have had good games, they've had bad games, they need to play better, and they have. So I'm going to go to the phones. I'm going to take a break, but I'm going to go to the phones first. We're going to roll. We're going to hit the text box. We're going to go to the phones throughout the show. We're going to have us a good time. I don't feel right sitting back and watching dudes that are landing on the line, giving off for Tennessee, get ripped to shreds when they're playing well. And I'm not going to sit back and just not say anything. I don't think it's right. 865-255-03. All right, let's go to the phones. Who do we have with us?
Hey, you got me.
What's up? Is it Turkey Man?
Yeah.
Hey, Turkey Man. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thanks for holding.
Hey, you hit on exactly what I was wanting to talk about. I guess from my point, I'm amazed and tickled at the same time to see this version of Joe. He did some great things that he hadn't done in the past. He gets the first down and gets down, keeps the clock running when we needed that. He was able to use his legs in the right manner at the right time and move the chains and had more field awareness than I've ever seen him play as long as he's been here at UT. I've seen him scramble and throw from the run and hit a crossing pattern I have not seen, and he did it 2 times. And I seen receivers, as you talked about, break and come back to the ball that I had not seen that. I seen a great. We would not have won this game without the play of Joe Milton. This game was the first game I've seen that we've won. I felt that way because I had not seen the version that we've seen. If we'd seen this version start of the year, and I like to say that I don't think he's heard the first of the year, but if we'd seen this awareness, I feel like that a lot of the stuff that's said would not have been said or reaction. But it brings frustration. I guess who I'm more tickled for than anybody is Josh Heupel. I think I'm more tickled for him than anybody because he stood. He don't tell injuries. He don't share information. He keeps it close to his vest. There's a lot of things you don't know, but the thing about it is, what we've seen from Joe, and for most part, was what we'd already seen from Joe in the past. So didn't realize injury had anything to do. But that version of Joe Milton, he made some money. He made some money on that version of Joe Milton because that version is a winner, and that version will win you games. and he will get recognized accordingly if that version can can really continue forward. But another thing I was going to ask you guys about real quick, because I know you guys, the callers, want to call in, don't get to talk to you like I normally get to do, but that deal you touched on Dabo, and I don't know if you've seen it all or heard it all.
Oh, I heard it all.
I mean, that is gold. That is, and he was speaking some truth. But you got to understand Dabo, and you got to hear the rest of the story behind. No, there's a story behind it. We know as a Tennessee fan a lot of what Dabo really is, but that was comical. And the other thing was that been talking about it forever and again, and I think I called in and talked a little bit about this, but that Spygate, but the questions that they was asking Harbaugh was comical in this press conference. But anyhow, I'll let you go, guys. Always good to talk to you.
Hey, thank you, Turkey Man. Much
Keep
love.
doing it. You too, buddy.
Much love, Turkey Man. 865-255-03. I haven't seen Harbaugh's press conference. I guess I got something to do a little bit later on today. Yeah, check that out. But I haven't seen his comments. But I did see Dabo Swinney's comments. Man, that was entertaining. 865-255-03. It's Ben McKee, Go Vols 247. I'm Jason Swain, live from the Low T Central Studio. Be right back.
You're listening to the Swain Event.
You don't say.
Fueled by Dead End Barbecue.
Hey, Knoxville, we all know the importance of mental health. Most people don't have regular mental health care. They often wait. Let's change that. Isn't it time we all consider our mental health as important as our physical health? If you are ready, Mind Body Wellness in Knoxville can help you design a plan for your mental wellness. We are accessible, affordable, and available. You are worth it. Visit mindbodyknoxville.com to schedule a mental wellness assessment today. When you are craving some quality barbecue, there's only one place to go. Dead End Barbecue. Dead End Barbecue has been featured on ESPN's Taste of the Town, the first barbecue restaurant on the SEC Network, CBS Sports, Headline News Tailgate Show, Amazon Prime's The Restaurant Comeback, Food Paradise, and named one of the top 100 barbecue restaurants in America. The search is over. Dead End Barbecue is located on 3621 Sutherland Avenue right here in Knoxville. You can even have it delivered right to your door through Chow Now. Visit their website at deadendbbq.com. Dead End Barbecue. The search is over.
Hey, Vol Nation. This is Charlie Pratt, financial representative with Modern Woodman and MWA Financial Services. Modern Woodman has been touching lives and securing futures for 140 years. Being born and raised here in East Tennessee, I'm honored to help East Tennesseans in all phases of life with retirement planning, investments, and life insurance. A big win on Saturday starts with preparation early in the week. A secure financial future starts with planning today. Contact my office today at 865-919-6468 to review your financial plan and make sure you are on track for success. As always, go Vols.
Registered representative and investment advisor, representative offering securities and advisory services through NWA Financial Services, Inc., a wholly owned subsidiary of Modern Woodman of America, member of FINCRA, SIPC.
Good morning, Swain Event family. Take a deep breath in and release. We're all back together in the AM and life is good. If you have real estate needs, just give me a call, Jennifer Morris, at 865-257-7897 or email me at jennifermorris865@gmail.com. And go Vols.
Just because you can't call in doesn't mean that you have to sit on the sideline. Impact the show with a text box. It's part of the free Swain Event app.
Eight 255-255-03, Swain Event Hotline. Thank you for making our program part of your morning. Let's go to Yeah, we got you now.
Cool. Hey, it's this thing with the certain faction. It's one of two things. It's one, some people made the decision a couple years ago that what Joe is, and they care more about them being right. So they want to point out everything wrong he does and never give credit for anything good he does. It's simple. They care more about their hot take a long time ago than they do about being fair to Joe. That it's that, or the other side of it is people who are small and soft. I don't mean, physically, I mean mentally small human beings, that it's easier than to say sometimes football games don't go your way than to say our quarterback's the problem. If we just go to the freshman, it'll all be fixed.
Yes, that's not the case.
So it's one of those two things. And you're never going to change those people. If we would have had Twitter and lots of sports radio in the late 80s when Jeff Francis was around and when we transitioned to Andy Kelly, it would have been the same thing on those guys. They would have had the same amount of people that were on them. During 1998, the first half of the season, when T was completing like 40% of his passes and we were winning by defense and running Jamal, Travis, and Travis, T would have been getting it from the fan base. You're never going to change those people. They're miserable, and that's who they are.
Yeah. Well, thank you for letting me know, Rusty. Because
I'm not fussing at you or Ben. I just want. I'm more talking to those people.
No. I appreciate the explanation because I didn't understand. Because I feel like being fair is more important than being right and stubborn, even when you know that you're wrong and you continue to try to beat the same drum because you don't want to admit that you're off. And I just don't understand that. I got people in my family like that, honestly, but I don't understand why continuing to be wrong. But go ahead, Rusty. I won't take more of your time.
No, you're right. I don't get that mentality to not be fair and measured. But some people are never going to be fair and measured. They can't do it. They care more about their own ego.
Yeah.
Turkey Man made a couple good points. A couple of the plays Joe made were really, really impressive. The throw that people can argue whether Keaton got his foot in bounds late in the first half that on the long third down, but the flushing of the pocket and throwing that ball to the far sideline, 28 yards downfield, and in the only spot that Keaton could possibly get his hands on it that would still give him a chance to be in bounds, just world-class throw, directing traffic on the play to Thornton when he's rolling left and throwing across his body. I think Heupel even mentioned in the press conference yesterday, we haven't really had any scramble drill completions even last year with Hooker. I mean, we might have had like two the entire year. One was a key third down against Florida to Fant, but it's just not something. When we had scramble drills, it was generally Hooker ran. Joe made some plays yesterday or Saturday, breaking the pocket and finding the guy downfield with keeping his eyes alive, which was I wasn't sure he could ever do that. I thought Joe could be a really good quarterback. I didn't know if Joe could make those type of things. And then the being mentally alert with the run game, the sliding to stay in bounds, those different things were really, really great to see his maturation.
I agree, Rusty. I mean, it takes two to tango. You got to have receivers on the right page, on the same page as the quarterback, and then receivers have to understand when they are on the sideline and there's no room to go. You either come back to the football or you go up, roll and take it up. If you are running a crossing route, then you have to stay in the eye line of the quarterback. And Joe and Thornton obviously talked about, hey, this is what I want you to do when I'm rolling. I want you to go inside. Usually you would stay outside there, but those guys communicated. They were on the same page. That's why that scramble drill worked, because if Thornton goes outside, maybe he catches the ball and is tackled right then. But Joe understood there's a lot of room and space to the middle of the football field, and he has the arm to make that throw, which every coach tell you don't throw across your body back to the middle of the football field. But Joe has that strength, and those guys communicated to be able to make that happen. Obviously, they worked on it. You think they just come out and just did it for the first time in the game? No, they've worked on it. They discussed that. But that's what happens when you spend time together and you work together over time. I mean, Thornton is new. He's new. So it takes time to have that chemistry, but that chemistry is on display on Saturday, Rusty. So, man, really, really good points by you, Rusty. I appreciate you calling, man, and sharing that with us.
Glad to. Last thing, I want to hear your thoughts, and I'll get off the air and hear your thoughts on this from both of you. Who do you think is the top 6 tonight in order when the playoff committee, the only poll that really matters, comes out?
Top 6. Okay. All right, Rusty, we got you. Top 6. I need to write this down. Top 6. Who we think the top 6 is going to be tonight? All right. We're going to come back to that, Rusty. Ben, right quick. Kentucky had 2 sacks versus Tennessee. We only had 1. In the 2 sacks, and this is not like trying to slap the hands of people who are trying to always blame Joe for everything that goes wrong. This is just more of just trying to spit some game and trying to educate our football fans that may help them understand what they're looking at. So the first sack, both sacks occurred in the third quarter. Both sacks were on third down. And one sack, the first one was an obvious passing situation. The second sack was on 3rd and 6, which most times you're going to pass it. Rarely will you run it. Tennessee's up 23-27. 3rd down 12, the 7-10 mark, Ben. And we're in the red zone. We have a matchup advantage. There's 5 offensive linemen. There's 4 Kentucky defensive linemen. Kentucky dropped 7. There's not a lot of places to throw the football when it's 3rd and 12. You're in the red zone. They're dropping 7 and rushing 4. You shouldn't be in 3rd and 12. This is a situation where you're probably going to play to make sure that you can kick the field goal. Again, you shouldn't have been in the 3rd 12 in the first place. But we were in it. 5 offensive linemen. 4 Kentucky defensive linemen. And they still sacked Joe Milton. That's not on Joe Milton, folks. That's not on Joe Milton. I know sometimes you want to point the finger at the quarterback. Get rid of the ball. But you got to have time. There's not many windows when 7 guys are dropping in the red zone. So, you want to blame Joe? Can't blame Joe on that one. The second sack. It's 3rd and 6. It's in the third quarter. Tennessee's up 26-24. Kentucky just answered. This is at the 22nd mark at the end of the third quarter. It's 3rd and 6. Kentucky blitz. And I understand for those who watched the TV broadcast after Oxidon had his sack, because the color guy showed you on TV, oh, the blitz is coming. But that doesn't mean that you have to freak out if you're the quarterback. That doesn't mean, oh, when pre-snap, you didn't identify the blitz. It don't matter if they blitz, because you know that you have 6 guys in protection. You have the running back. In this case, it was Jabari Small. So, yeah, Kentucky did bring a little funky blitz, but they only brought 6 people, which meant you could still block it. Now, it's one-on-one blocks, but you can still block it. You can still run what you're running. we had a backup tackle, and John Campbell Jr. was hurt. We had a backup tackle in, and our backup tackle just lost a rep. You had, it was hard to see, you had 3-by-1 to the wide side. You had a vertical route from the slot. On the outside, you had the receiver. I couldn't see exactly who it was, but you had a receiver come open. But if Joe would have had normal time, Joe's hitting that receiver to the wide side. Now, people saw to the short side, 3-by-1, 3 to the wide, 1 to the weak. People saw the one person on the backside running the dig route. Shoot through it there. You shoot through it there. Do you know his progressions? Do you know where he is told to look on the snap of the football? There's always progressions in a passing game. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sometimes there's a fifth option. Sometimes it's not. When there's 3 receivers on one side, more than likely you're going to work to that side. There are times, and I remember this when Casey Clausen was a quarterback, and you had Dante Stallworth on the weak side, or you had Kelly Washington to the weak side. It's a short throw. You just throw it right there. But the way Joe's eyes went directly to the wide side of the field with 3 receivers lets you know that that's his progression. That's what he was coached to do. He's following his coaching. So it's easy just to hit pause on the TV, go, man, shoot through it there. Well, you don't know what the hell his progressions are. So you can't say that. You don't know that. And it was man-to-man, and Joe didn't have any time again. Now, quickly, because I don't want to hog up all Ben's time here. There are situations where you know you only have 5 guys or 6 guys blocking, and you know that the defense, if they send 7, you are in trouble. If they send more than what you can block, that will trigger a blitz reaction. That means you have to get the ball out fast because you don't have enough guys to block what they are sending. And that is when a quarterback has to have recognition, pre-snap, post-snap, and has to be really, really good at getting the ball out. Has to be good mentally. And you'll see slants. You'll see hitches. You'll see quick outs. You'll see go routes. But that sack that Kentucky got, the second sack, did not trigger a blitz reaction because we had 6 to block 6. And again, that was on protection. That wasn't on Joe. All right, Ben. What impressed you outside of Joe? Obviously, Joe was efficient. Joe did a good job. But what impressed you? What stood out to you in that Kentucky win for Tennessee?
More big picture stuff, just Tennessee's response and resiliency to losing to Alabama and being able to turn around and go win on the road in the SEC against a rival. I thought that was a program win. I absolutely thought that was a program win. Josh Heupel talked about that post game. Talked about the culture and the locker room being in a place and how that's not built overnight, how that allowed them to go out there and win on Saturday night after the way the Alabama game went. Physical football game in Tuscaloosa. Kentucky was at the house chilling, resting up, and Tennessee went into Lexington and they bullied Kentucky. They played Kentucky style of football and bullied them throughout the course of the football game. Obviously, if you're Tennessee, you did not like seeing Devin Leary and Barryon Brown and Dane Key kind of pop off there. I thought you saw how important and how well Kamal Hadden was playing, and how much his presence was missed. Because the secondary I thought had a rough night, and I don't know, Swain, if you thought it was because Kentucky was doing a good job of getting the football out quickly, but there also wasn't a pass rush, much of anyone generated throughout that football game. So not as great of a defensive performance as you would have liked. I think you alluded to that in your opening comments, just how the game didn't necessarily play out in the way that you thought it was going to. And I think that's what you were referring to is the defense maybe not having its best night. But hey, at the end of the day, Swain, good football teams find a way to win. And a couple of weeks ago, Tennessee's defense picked up the offense against Texas A&M, and then fast forward a couple of weeks, and Tennessee's offense against a good Kentucky defense picks up its own defense. So I thought it was a culture win and a program win from that standpoint, just being able to be resilient after the Alabama loss, and then the Alabama or the offense being able to pick up the defense. And to me, that was a season-saving win. It absolutely was, because if you don't win that football game, then there's no telling how things spiral, maybe out of control. This last month of the season, you're probably going 8-4, maybe 7-5 if you don't beat Kentucky. And now instead, because you were able to regroup and lean on your leadership and go on the road and pick up a conference win over your rival, you still have a lot to play for this month of November. You have some tough games coming up. I am fascinated with the Tennessee-Missouri matchup. I think that's going to be a really good football game. And then we all know what Georgia will be the following week. And if at minimum you can split those two football games between Missouri and Georgia, you're going into the bowl game 9-3 with a chance to win a 10th game in your bowl game and secure back-to-back double-digit win seasons. And that would be a huge building block, even if there were some frustrations throughout the course of the season. And hey, best case scenario, Swain, again, you still have a ton to play for because of the win in Lexington. You can win out, and who knows? You may be in Atlanta first weekend of December playing for an SEC championship game. And Alabama LSU is big this weekend, but who knows? Maybe you get a rematch with the Crimson Tide in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. So it was a season-saving win, and although this season has been very frustrating at times for fans and the players and the coaches, there's still a whole lot to play for this final month of the season.
Yeah, I mean, Tennessee has a chance to go back to a New Year's Six game. That's on the table. You beat Missouri, you beat Georgia, and Georgia, their next couple of games are not necessarily easy. They should be the favorite, but they have to play Missouri and Ole Miss and Tennessee. So there's a lot that can happen in the next couple of weeks, and Tennessee finding a different way to win, I think, will be helpful, because you never know how you're going to be forced to win. Will it be offensively picking up the defense, or will it be the defense picking up the offense? After the game, I talked to Amari Thomas, and we talked about that. Hey, there's times when defensively you got to pick up the offense. The offense is trying to establish rhythm and chemistry, and while that's happening, the defense is taking care of their job and making sure that you're not giving up an enormous amount of points, but you're still winning. And that was what was going on. Like, people were complaining and all this when Tennessee was 5-2. And I'm like, I want to win every game, but we acting like we 4-4 like Clemson. You can get better. You can play different the next week. And so you play at home against Georgia. You play on the road in Missouri. That won't be a hostile environment by any SEC standards, but Missouri's a team that's capable of beating you. And that'll be a great challenge, man. But I was impressed, Ben, by even though he had one catch, it was for a touchdown, but Chaz Nimrod being able to get off the press, show some great technique for a young receiver. That's the biggest challenge, especially Chaz. He's not the strongest looking or tallest or the strongest looking. He looks like a guy that's gonna beat you with speed, and so you can kind of tell in that Texas A&M game, he started the game off catching a lot of slants, and he was getting tossed around like a rag doll. That should show you where his strength levels are. right now in his young career. But for him to be able to win on the outside and press coverage and get on top and score that touchdown, because the catch was the easiest part. The hard part is always at the line of scrimmage for guys like him, and he won that. That shows that he's improved in that area. And Charles Campbell was perfect on the day.
They don't win without him.
I prefer not to kick 4 field goals in the game. Red zone offense is continuing to still be, a concern, but Campbell was perfect on the day, and that was super, super important. I'll make another observation, and we'll have to take another break. But 2021, Ben, remember how we scored right before the half? Right before the half, we scored, kicked the field goal. Last year, Tennessee scores 44 points, scores 44-6. Stoops has seen Tennessee's explosive offense up close and personal for the last 2 years. And I thought that impacted his decision to be aggressive at the end of the first half, Ben, because Tennessee got the ball with, I'm pulling it up right here. I'm not sure exactly how much time we got the ball, but here we go. So we got the ball around the 25-yard line. We called a fair catch. This is after Tennessee gave up a touchdown. It was 20-10. Kentucky goes down and scores 20-17. It's a minute and 46 on the clock. And you, like me, we're thinking, oh, that's plenty of time for Tennessee to go down and get points. Well, Dylan Sampson picked up 0 yards on first down, so 2nd and 10. Dylan Sampson picked up 4 yards. It's 3rd and 6. All right. So what do you do? What do you do, Kentucky? You got 3 timeouts. Tennessee ran the ball twice. What do you do? Do you call timeout to give your offense time to go down and score? Because your offense was cooking throwing the football. It was cooking all day, all night. But at that point, it was definitely cooking. 3rd down is when we made the pass to Ramel Keaton. But I was really shocked, Ben, that Stoops did not call a timeout to try to get the ball back. I'm surprised he didn't have more confidence in his defense versus this Tennessee offense and say, you know what, man, we coming off a bye week. We've lost 2 already in a row. Like, our offense is moving the ball well. I got one of the best returners in the conference in Barryon Brown. I'm about to call these timeouts because I can't take him to halftime with me. I thought Josh Heupel in 2021, I thought Stoops had a flashback and said, man, I'm just trying to get out of here. I don't need to be too aggressive here because Tennessee may go down here and score. I'd rather give up 3 than 7. And that's the Josh Heupel effect. That's what stood out to me in real time.
Because in his post-game press conference, he didn't necessarily address that. He was asked about his decision earlier in the half to go for it in his own territory, and he said that he felt like he needed to score points because they were going to score points. So I do think that he was content with the score being what it was at halftime and not trying to allow Tennessee to put even more points on the board, as you alluded to. And, Tennessee's offense played well on Saturday night, but up until Saturday night, the last couple of weeks, aside from that first half at Alabama, didn't necessarily inspire confidence that Tennessee was going to throw it back to the first 2 seasons of the Heupel era and just put up a ton of points on the board. So I was kind of surprised that he had that mindset in the first half, honestly, that he thought he was going to have to put up a bunch of points to beat Tennessee, because Tennessee had not shown that all that often to that point in the season.
It's weird, though, Ben, because, you go forward on 4th down in your second possession, but you don't call timeouts to be aggressive to try to get the ball back before the half. Like, that didn't make a lot of sense to me. But, hey, man.
Me too.
Whatever. 865-255-03. Ben, I need some answers. You're at the game. You had a better view than me for a lot of the things that go on during the game. Sometimes I have a better view than you, depending on what it is. But in this case, you might have a better view to answer this question. To start the fourth quarter, Ben, what was Kentucky doing with all this smoke? I need you to think about that, Ben. I need some answers from you. I need some answers. I need to know, start of next segment, what was Kentucky doing with all the smoke to start the fourth quarter? 865-255-03. Be right back.
You're listening to the Swain Event.
And you know this, man.
Here in Knoxville, we love it when a squirrel's in the checkerboards. But when there's a squirrel in our attic, that's all sides. When that happens, call Alpha Wildlife. They're Knoxville's veteran-owned and operated wildlife removal company. When unwanted critters put their feet up on your coffee table, call 865-224-6555. Let the Tennessee fans at Alpha Wildlife evict those unwanted tenants and set your home up with a winning defense to keep that wildlife where it belongs. That's Alpha Wildlife at 865-224-6555. They have locations in Nashville, Memphis, Chattanooga, and in parts of South Carolina. Check them out online at alphawildlife.com.
What's up, fellas? It's Swain. When it comes to health, there are numbers every man needs to know, including your testosterone number. I recommend going to Low T Center. They make it quick and easy to get your levels checked, and it's only $25. You walk in, take a simple blood test, and with their on-site lab, you'll know your results in 25 minutes. Low testosterone levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, can cause lack of motivation and drive. It can raise your cholesterol, cause weight gain, and loss of muscle mass. Go to lowtcenter.com now to book your appointment. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare. Dead End Barbecue has you covered when you need the food to be on point for your next event. Go to deadendbbq.com to learn more or call 865-414-9417. Dead End Barbecue, the catering search is over.
Hey there, Swain Event crew. Just like fall sports, the Knoxville area real estate market is strong and growing stronger. We're an everything region. When you get the big orange itch to buy, sell, or invest, call me, Jennifer Morris with Keller Williams Realty at 865-257-7897 or email me at jennifermorris865@gmail.com. Go Vols!
Looking for a different way to enjoy the show?
Yes.
Then check out Swain Event TV on YouTube.
Eight 865-255-03. Swain Event fueled by Dead End Barbecue. I told Ben I need to know what's going on with that smoke. What was going on with that smoke to start the fourth quarter? If you're watching on TV, you probably saw feel a little bit smoky, but boy, we got to tell you kind of how all that came about. But first, let's go to the phones. 865-255-03. Then we'll get to the Beatty Chevrolet text box. It is Mississippi Vol. Mississippi Vol, good morning, sir.
Good morning. Good morning, rest of all nation. Couple points I have. I mean, Saturday watching the game, it was hard to follow my timeline and watch the game because I don't understand what people wanted from Joe. I even sent out a tweet, 18 of 21 over 230 yards in a touchdown, and made good key plays with his legs to win that game. I don't know what was people complaining about. That was winning football. Then I also pointed out, like, we had Ollie Lane, no disrespect to Ollie Lane, and a backup left tackle. I mean, that goes with development and recruiting, and that's where I want to get to. Is Glenn Ellerby, like, the guy? Because we have these constant couple classes where we're not getting development. That's one point I wanted to make. And with the DBs, it's like we're there. It's like we're not getting the technique right when the ball is in the air. Is that more on Willie Martinez teaching them those guys that technique, or that's just how we're playing defensive back? Other than that, that's the only 2 points I have, and I wanted to take your suggestion on that, and I'll hang up and listen.
Hey, thank you, Mississippi Vol, man. First, just want to thank you for your service. I know you're retired military, so thank you. And Man, we appreciate you calling in this morning. Uh, to be honest and transparent here with you, as I try to do all the time, anyways. The good Ellaby comment question. The honest answer is we gotta be better. We gotta be better at getting more production from our linemen that we assigned. In the last two offensive line classes, we don't have anyone that's currently playing right now. So in this conference in the SEC, taking a really good player, making him better, is not good enough. You have to do that. I know you're making a face, Ben. I got you. Taking a player that you inherit and making him better is not good enough. You got to recruit good players and also make them better. Like, you got to do both of it in this conference because the margin of error is so small. And Tennessee has some good players committed right now. Tennessee is still trying to get George Seaton, who's one of the top players in the country. And so I can't sit here and look at the 2 years of recruiting classes that we had offensive line and say with a straight face, oh yeah, no issue, no deal, no big deal, nothing to mention. The fact that none of those guys are playing, 7 of them. I think it's fair to say we got to be better. We got to be better in that area. With our recruiting offensive linemen, with our evaluating offensive linemen, and our development. You have to do all of it in this conference. Not just 1 or 2 of those things. You have to do all of it. Go ahead, Ben. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Ben.
Tennessee certainly needs to take that next step up front. There's no denying that.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that Glenn Ellerby has done a bad job. He has done a good job working with what he's got up until this point. And to me, there's 2 points with this particular topic as of Halloween 2023. First, you can't not give him credit. And I'm not saying that you're not giving him credit for taking what he inherited and developing those guys into very quality SEC starters. Like Darnell Wright was not in a great spot when Glenn Ellerby arrived in Knoxville. Jerome Carvin improved under Glenn Ellerby. Javonte Spraggins, Cooper Mays, Gerald Mincy, John Campbell Jr., these guys have all gotten better under Glenn Ellerby. So I think he is doing a good job of developing. I think that's on one hand. Now, on the other hand, it is fair to wonder where the last 2 offensive line classes are at. That is absolutely fair. But I do think it's also fair to understand that the last 2 offensive line recruiting classes, they consisted of guys who are more developmental offensive linemen. And the development of offensive linemen is different than the development of what Josh Heupel called last week players away from the football, players further away from the football. Josh Heupel, I think on Vol calls last week, said it's easier. The further you get away from the football, the easier it is to get on the field quicker because you have less, I don't know if less responsibilities is the right way to put it, but it's not as physically demanding as it is in the trenches. And the last 2 offensive line classes, Glenn Ellerby has brought in developmental prospects at that position because of where Tennessee football was at when he took over for Jeremy Pruitt, where this entire staff took over for Jeremy Pruitt. There were some issues that they had to deal with in recruiting. When I was talking to a recruit in year 1 that was an offensive lineman, a high caliber offensive lineman, he said that he didn't feel comfortable coming to Tennessee at the time because he didn't know what the NCAA investigation was going to result in. I mean, they were having to deal with kind of those recruiting restrictions with that cloud hanging over them. And that's no longer an excuse, and look at the class that he's been able to put together currently. So again, it's fair to wonder where those guys are. The last two recruiting classes, I just think they're more developmental prospects than what he has coming in this upcoming cycle. And when you look at the development timeline, Swain, in my opinion, that's like a 2 to 3 year process. If you bring in, quote, a project or a guy is going to take a couple of years to play at that position, to me that's 2 to 3 years, and we're kind of at the beginning of that 2 to 3 years. So I don't think it's just fair to say that the book is completely out on those guys. Now, if we get into training camp in August and those guys still are not in a position to where it looks like they can contribute, then I think that conversation becomes even louder. But I just think it's a little too early to have this type of conversation, knowing what he took over when he got here, and he took the players that were already here when he did get here, and they got better under his guidance.
It's year 3. This is a meat grinder to be at this level in the SEC. I don't think you're disagreeing with it. He has to be better, and that was really my point. He has to be better. Like, you can't win in this conference recruiting just a bunch of developmental players on offensive line, defensive line. They got to be a part of the class, but they can't be the entire class. Like, if you go out and recruit 5 offensive linemen in a class, they all can't be developmental in Tennessee's position. And when we took over the job after Pruitt, we looked at the roster. We knew Darnell Wright was an NFL talent, that he was going to be gone. We knew Jerome Carvin. He didn't wake up one day and was a senior. Like, we knew how much time we had with those two. And so, in knowing that, you have to recruit knowing that you're going to have some voids. And when you have those voids, you can't fill those voids with just developmental players who may be ready in year 2 or year 3, because you need a dude who's going to be ready sooner, because you have these 2 guys that's going to be gone. And so, yeah, like Coach Former used to recruit developmental guys that would play after their second year. You know, Ramon Foster. Like, no, Ramon wasn't expected to come in and play day one, but he didn't have to, because there was a plan. There were guys already playing. You know, Chris Scott didn't come in playing day one, but when it was his time, it worked out. Our roster situation, when these coaches inherited this roster, said you can't just go out and get developmental players at offensive line and be where you want to be in year 3, year 4. You got to get some dudes that can play like Wanye Morris and like Darnell Wright. You have to get some of those guys mixed in with other guys. And my whole point, while acknowledging how Glenn Ellaby has done a good job developing some of our players, he has to be better, just like a lot of other coaches have to be better in recruiting, because it's only going to get harder. We're not at Central Florida, where you can just take some guys who may be fast, or some guys who may love football a lot, or a guy that, you know, he's going to be good in year 3, and expect to compete against teams who are getting first and second year contributors. Like, it's just not going to work if you want to be where you want to be from a win, loss standpoint. Like, it's not going to line up. So you gotta be better. I feel like in recruiting, when it comes to evaluation, if you're not going to get a top tier guy, then you just can't miss. Like, we are in a position right now where you just can't afford to miss, because who you got at offensive line next year, Ben? That's on this.
Well,
that's on this squad right now. Like,
I mean, you could have that almost everybody back, depending on how some of these decisions go with the veterans. I mean, technically everybody but Ollie Lane can return.
Okay, so what if they don't?
Yeah, now that is 1,000%. That is a
What if they get hurt?
That's a fair question.
Yeah, you just want to avoid the position that you were in, at the beginning of the year. Like you can't allow yourself to be in that position again. So you got to recruit. You got to have a plan for your backup center. You got to put but the player, they deserve responsibility and accountability too for making sure that they're ready. But for every player that we have done a good job of developing, we're also missing a player that took a step backwards from last year to this year. And I don't want to just tell one side of the story and just push one narrative. I want to tell both sides. But Jeremiah Crawford took a step back. Is that more Jeremiah Crawford? Is that more Ellerbe? Is it a combination of both? I don't know. But Jeremiah Crawford was awesome last year against Alabama, was awesome in certain situations. But this year, he goes in for John Campbell, and we get beat. So, you can't have that big of a drop-off moving forward on the offensive line. If you want to be where you want to be, and you're playing a true a redshirt freshman quarterback next year, Nico, who's still gaining weight, you got to protect him. So it's a little bit of both, I think, Ben. I think you identify where Ellerbe has done a really good job developing, but you also have to say, man, we got to be better at evaluation, closing your recruiting, and development when they get here. Because if we're not going to be the offense we want to be.
Yeah, I just don't think that you can build elite offensive line depth in this league over 2 off seasons. I just don't. I'm sorry. I just don't, especially with what Tennessee had to deal with when they first got here, that they were in a position to where they had to go take developmental offensive linemen because the Wanya Morrises of the world did not want to come to Tennessee because of what Tennessee had been the last couple of years and the investigation. You may know this, but there are people who do not know this and are.
But I'm not saying elite. I don't need elite, Ben.
Why not? I want elite offensive line depth.
Well, yeah, I would love elite, but who out here has elite? That's the goal. But we gotta be at least better than having 7 linemen in the last 2 years and none of them have played. That's the red flag.
Yes, 1,000%. I don't disagree with that whatsoever. Yeah. I don't think that you can get to where you want to be within 2 off seasons, given where you were, and you had slim pickings the first 2 offensive line classes. You did because of where Tennessee football was when Glenn Ellerbe and Josh Heupel took over, and what did they do to supplement that? And this is something you're talking about recruiting and finishing in recruiting. Well, does he not get credit for finishing with John Campbell on the recruiting trail and Gerald Mincey and them being able to come in and contribute right away? And I know Gerald Mincey has been a knucklehead at times, but he has gotten better as a football player under Glenn Ellerbe. I think the Andre Carrick take may be questionable as of right now. That's one that does not look as beneficial of a transfer as Campbell and Mincey, but they've brought in guys to help supplement the developmental high school guys that they are also bringing in until they can get to a point, which I think they have now reached, of where they're not recruiting with a cloud hanging over their head, and that's why they've been able to have a successful recruiting cycle up front in this particular class. So it is a red flag. I just think there are reasons there and not excuses why Tennessee is at where it is at. I just don't think that you can build quality depth that is necessary in this league based off of where they were and through just 2 off seasons.
Well, my point is we have to be better. And we have to be. As simple as that.
Like at the end of the day, the Tennessee offensive line has bullied some really quality offensive lines since Cooper Mays came back. And yes, you don't want to be in that position, but like it just kind of is what it is because of where they were in my opinion. And like again, you bullied A&M, a really good Texas A&M defensive front.
We lost to Florida. We lost to Florida because of offensive line
without Cooper Mays.
And that's my point. Like you can't allow yourself to lose a game because of one player. That's where depth. That's where making sure that you don't miss in recruiting. That's where you know development. That's where it's so important in this league because that margin of error is so slim. Yes, Cooper in the offensive line taking steps and recognized on a John Moore Award, but we can't ignore what happened at Florida with one player not being out there. Like you can't lose games like that to an inferior team because of offensive line going into year 3. So that's why I'm saying we got to be better. Like I'm not ripping anybody and saying, man, we got to replace dudes. I'm just keeping it real. Like we got to be better.
Do you think Glenn Ellerbe should be let go this offseason?
What'd I just say? I'm not ripping him and saying that we got to replace him. I'm saying we just got to be better. That's exactly what you said.
I'm getting to a point.
No, absolutely not. We just
and
gotta be better.
That is what I am speaking to. I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying about Cooper B. Mays, and like you should never allow yourself to be in the position that they were in the month of September.
Yeah, that's my point.
I'm agreeing with all of that. I'm speaking to the Mississippi Vols question, like wondering if he's the guy. And I'm not saying that Mississippi Vol called in and was like, hey, we got to get Glenn Ellerbe, but it was still a question, right, of questioning if Ellerbe is the guy for the job. And there have been other extremes. People have texted me last week wanting Glenn Ellerbe fired. No. There's a message board that doesn't think Glenn Ellerbe is good enough to do the job. That is what I am speaking to. I'm not speaking to what you are and saying like you can't be in that position. You need better depth. But I'm speaking to the people that think he needs to be fired. That is ridiculous.
Okay. Well, you didn't say that at the beginning. So, I was just answering what Mississippi Vols asked. Now, if you were referring to folks that want him gone, then I understand why you're taking that stance. But I'm saying we gotta be better because we can't be losing teams.
No doubt about that.
Inferior to us because one dude is not playing. That's where you got to have better depth. And then the question for Mississippi Vol on the secondary. Now, I get text messages during the game. Man, we got to look for the ball. And it feels like that has just been regurgitated so much that people just say it and don't understand like when it's applicable. They don't understand that. Well, when you're in trail technique, you're not supposed to be looking back because you slow up when you look back. You are supposed to play through the DB, the receiver's hands. And I thought Kentucky's receivers made some good plays. I thought the play that Barryon Brown made on Danico Slaughter was, that was a really good play. Danico ripped through the hands, but Danico just was unable to break it up. You can make the question, well, don't get in trail technique. That's cool. Well, that goes back to recruiting and getting better athletes that can run and turn. I've talked to Jonathan Wade about this at length this year about what is taught, about when to look back, when to be in that position where you're playing through the receiver's hands rather than looking back. There's times when you're supposed to look back, and there's times when you can't look back because when you look back, you slow up. You gotta keep your eyes on the receiver and run through the receiver's hands. So our DBs in Kentucky game, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that they shouldn't have played better. Absolutely should have played better. But the pass rush and the coverage is always linked. And when you don't have pass rush, it's really like 7-on-7 out there. And I thought Devin Leary deserved a lot of credit because he threw one corner route to Key. He threw it before Key came out of his breaks. And the ball was perfectly thrown, placed, and Key had no choice but to catch it. You can't cover that. Like, that's an uncoverable play. So, of course, we got to be better in the secondary from Kentucky game. we got to get a pass rush. Some of it was Kentucky doing a better job in the pass pro. Some of it was, they don't want to call any holding calls at all. I think it was a little bit of a mix of both, though. I think Saturday did teach us that Kamal Hadden, and you mentioned this, Ben, Kamal Hadden, more valuable than maybe what people thought. Kamal Hadden was having a career type of year. All right, let's go back to the phone.
They need some of those veterans to step up and help replace his loss. They need to get Danico Slaughter back on track, and Gabe Judy-Lally, I think he's been really good this month. He needs to continue that. But like a Brandon Turnage, a Warren Burrell, somebody like that who's been in the program for several years now, they need to step up and provide some quality depth.
Yeah, Danico's coming back from that toe, and I was a little concerned about him playing on turf. Turf with the toe is a little bit harder than playing on grass, but I thought Danico was in good position now on the dig route that Key caught and spun back on Danico. That wasn't Danico's finest moment, but hey, it happens, man. You play this game long enough, you're going to play against dudes that make plays against you. You got to bounce back and play the next play. All right, let's go back to the phones. Good morning. Who do we have with us?
Justin down in Florida.
What up, Justin?
Not much. How you guys doing?
Good, man. How are you?
Hanging in there. Actually starting to enjoy a little cooler weather down here in Florida. It's nice for a change.
Don't even start. What's the temperature down there?
I think it's going to be 82 today.
Dude, shut up. Shut up, man. You got Ben over here in the sweatshirt. It's 44 degrees. You calling here talking about some, man, I'm just glad that it's going to be cooling down here. It's going to be 82. Man, shut up, Justin.
Listen, I don't even want to hear it. This entire summer was the seventh circle of hell down here. It was so hot. And, you guys are up there and you get that, low humidity, 90-degree day.
All right,
it's down here. It's 115% humidity and,
all right, fair enough.
97. Come on.
I'll shut up now.
And we don't have to deal with the natives of Florida.
No, brother, don't even get me going.
Yeah,
don't even get me going. It's painful.
The floor's yours,
but,
Justin.
Okay, so with regards to the O-line, I think what Ben, I do agree with you from a standpoint of you can't build an O-line overnight, especially in the SEC. It does take time.
Correct.
Mm-hmm. The question becomes some of the evals, some of the recruiting focus. I mean, it feels like, we've got some guys with some potential. They just haven't, tapped into it yet. But, I mean, there's, next year is going to be year 4. And the guys that we're looking at on this offensive line this year that are dependable are the ones that could very easily be gone. I guess where I'm going with it is what is sort of that plan? Because if it does take 3 years, I didn't see it in year 1, year 2. I do see it in this class that we're finally getting guys that it's like, okay, we can see them be contributors within that 2 to 3 year window. I mean, this program and this offense especially is not going to survive having to wait until year 5, year 6 to have a solid offensive line. I guess what kind of worries me, and I don't think this just applies to O-line, because I also think it applies to our wide receiver room. The wide receiver room, so far this year, yes, they're playing better in their last 2 games, but for the first half of the year was awful. And it was definitely a step back. And it feels like as we're starting to get a little further away from the guys that remained here, that more of a Klieg light is being put on the guys that are being brought in. But I will also say, Ben, and my pushback on the Ellerbe thing is we were also left decimated on the defensive line, but we've seemed to really turn that around real fast. And we all know a lot of that has to do with Rodney Garner, which I think warrants the question with Ellerbe. It's like, well, if Rodney Garner's doing it with the defensive line, can we at least get something similar? It doesn't have to be that same level because Rodney's the GOAT, but you've got to see something more from Ellerbe. Would you agree?
Yeah, I do not disagree at all that the offensive line needs to get better. That there is more. There's another level that they need to reach. I don't disagree with that at all. I mean, the Rodney Garner comparison, I think you kind of said it yourself. I mean, Rodney Garner is a better defensive line coach than Glenn Ellerbe is an offensive line coach. And that's no disrespect to Glenn Ellerbe. I mean, Rodney Garner is one of the best assistants in SEC history, quite frankly, especially along the defensive line. So I definitely think that they need to take another step. I'm not at all trying to say that they don't need to take another step, because they absolutely do, and there are some red flags that within the last two classes or so of offensive linemen, I guess technically three classes, like there doesn't seem to be somebody that's ready to play going into next year. I mean, there doesn't, and right now for next year's offensive line, like you really need John Campbell to decide to return, or Javonte Spraggins and Cooper Mays, Gerald Mincey. Like you're kind of hoping next year's offensive line hopes are really laying in the hands of those guys. And if those decisions don't go the way that you want them to, then you're going to have to hit the portal pretty hard, because again, there's not a ton of depth behind them that makes you feel comfortable that they're going to be able to contribute next season. So that is a huge concern. I think right now the answer to your question of what does the offensive line look for next year? Well, if those couple of guys that can come back, if they don't, then you're going to have to live in the portal.
I think you're going to have to live in the portal regardless. I mean, I think, to your point, Ben, about having the backups, I mean, we can't go through another, or going into the season where it's like, okay, we have 5 starters, and then after that, let's hope and pray. I mean, you've got to have a defined center available. You've got to have multiple guards that can step in and contribute if needed. I mean, guys are going to get hurt. One thing I will say, and I hate pointing this out, but I mean, there's been some regression with some of the guys. Like, I mean, Swain mentioned, Crawford. I hate bringing up and calling out, guys that maybe have taken a step back, but there are 2 guys from last year that returned. I just don't like, I think there's something lacking. I mean, like going into this year, they were talking about Spraggins potentially going in like a top 2 round, type projection as a guard. And I think this year, probably not looking that way. Do I think he's fallen way down? No, but he's definitely taken a step back. Now that could be scheme. It could be, what he's being asked to do this year. It could be the guys around him. I don't know. I mean, that's probably one for Cole Kublik.
Well, I'll tell you, Justin Cole, because we had him on Josh and Swain. Cole said that those first, second round draft projections were off, and that wasn't fair to Spraggins. That he was getting those. He did not see that. He loves Spraggins. He thinks Spraggins is a pro player, but he didn't feel like those first, second round grades were fair to him anyways.
Okay. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Well, and I also think Spraggins has been much better in October than he was in September, and that certainly correlates with Cooper Mays coming back, and maybe you wouldn't like to see it correlate with the center coming back, but as Cooper has come back, I thought Spraggins has turned his play up a notch and played really well these last couple of weeks.
Yeah.
All right, Justin, we got to run, my man.
I got to run myself. You guys take care.
Hey, thank you. See what you did, Mississippi Vol. 865-255-03. Let me hit this text box, Beatty Chevrolet text box, BeattyChevrolet.com. SUVs, pre-owned trucks, starting as low as $19,995. That's BeattyChevrolet.com. Vol 85 says after Hendon Hooker, most people correctly thought that this would be a down year compared to last year. With Nico probably being the future and so much possible movement with the offensive line and D-line, what would you consider a good year next year? I don't know. I don't know yet. It's kind of early to to identify what we consider a good year, win-loss record-wise, and we haven't even hit the spring yet. That's hard. Vol fan, can we find a way to keep John Campbell, Cooper Mays, Spraggins forever? I love them all. They play so hard. Each have such unique and fun personality. Well, this is what the NIL is for. This is for to reward the players that are already in your program that have shown you what they can do, instead of using NIL to go sway high school players and promise them a certain number when they haven't done anything. I've always found it a little weird and a little uncomfortable that in NFL, and this was the year right before Jameis Winston, where Sam Bradford was getting paid more than quarterbacks that already made the Pro Bowl multiple times. But Sam Bradford was the first overall pick and he got $60 million. And they changed the rule. NFLPA was like, yo, that don't make any sense. And they changed it. I'm glad. Now you go, you tear it up in your first couple of years, you get your second contract. You deserve the world. You deserve the bank. So this is what the NIL, I think, could really help us with retaining some of those guys that have an opportunity to play at the next level, but maybe their draft grade is not high enough for them to go. Take care of them. I think we will. Rodney Nosell says we need to invest in offensive linemen like UGA. You win on the line of scrimmage in the SEC. Melissa Wise says I'm at work, so I have to listen later, but quick question. I'm still seeing a lot of criticism of Milton. I thought he looked great on Saturday. Now, I never played football apart from flag with friends, but I grew up watching it. Am I missing something? What are these folks seeing that I'm not, or are they just ignorant? This week, ignorant. This week. If you want to criticize, Joe from early in the season and critique him here and there, cool, whatever. But you doing it this week from Kentucky game? You look silly. Dude was awesome. Mississippi Vol says, I do not think LOB should be fired. My question was more about the development of the last two classes. And, that's why Mississippi Vol has a question about the development in the last two classes, because in the last two classes, not one of those guys have played. So they haven't seen them and playing the game. I haven't seen them in practice because I don't go to every practice. I ain't been to practice since beginning of the season. And so we'll probably have a better answer bowl game when those guys are getting majority of the reps when they practice in Knoxville. And that period of time is designed just for development. But no, I'm an LB fan. But we just got to be better. Well, I don't know what's wrong with saying we got to be better.
Nothing.
Like, we had a Blitnikoff Award winner last year. Guess what? We got to be better. Because you lose Ramel Keaton. You got Brew McCoy coming off of a serious injury. You got Dante Thornton, that his breakout game was almost in November. 3 catches for 63 yards. Y'all, listen. Let's not act like we don't know what's going on. Y'all saw this offense in the first 2 years. Y'all saw what was out there on the outside in the first 2 years. Y'all saw the receivers. We got to get better. Cool. Let's go do it. We got a lot to sell. We got a lot to offer here in Tennessee with this offense. But saying we got to get better is not saying, man, you got to fire that coach. That's not the same thing. We got to get better. And those coaches will say the same thing. We got to get better. That's why they're recruiting right now. It's okay to say we got to get better. Ben, you find out what was going on with that Smoke Kentucky game?
No, it was dumb as all get out though. The fog was already rolling through pretty thick, and then you're gonna fire off fireworks to add to the smoke to where nobody in the stadium can see. Dude, that was ridiculous.
They had 2 smoke machines on each side of the field. So end zones, they had 2. Both sides of the field, they had 2. And to start the fourth quarter, they just started letting the smoke go. they told the fans to throw their fours up for fourth quarter and turn the flashlight on your phone. And for a little bit, there was no music playing. And then they started playing some music. And I guess that was supposed to, like, hype folks up. And it did for a little bit. It did. But I need somebody from Kentucky. And I know Harbaugh is under fire for sending people of his staff to other games to scout. I need somebody from Kentucky. I need y'all to go down to Alabama. I need you to go over there to South Carolina. You can come up here or come down here in Knoxville. You want to see what the start of a fourth quarter hype looks like to get the crowd into it? Come down here and take some notes. Go down to Columbia, take some notes. Go down to Tuscaloosa, take some notes. That wasn't it. Like, I was trying to hold in my laugh, man, like Draymond Green when Fergie was singing the national anthem in the All-Star game a couple years ago. Like, I was trying not to laugh. It was hilarious. And then Tennessee's last drive that started, it looked like we started at the 50-yard line. And this is why I'm so happy for Joe and his offense, because they were able to pick up first downs and run the football in the 4-minute offense when everyone in the building knew what we had to do, and they still couldn't stop it. But Tennessee up 33-27. We get the ball, start the drive, 4 minutes and 24 seconds. Dylan Sampson, 5-yard run. And then a short pass to Dylan Sampson, 6 yards. And then a rush up the middle for 24 yards. And then another rush for 3 yards. And then Milton rushed for 11 yards. Like, that was masterful. But during that drive, Ben, I don't know if you noticed this, but I did. It was not loud. It was not loud.
They were nervous.
That's the time you're supposed to be the loudest.
Yep.
Supposed to be the loudest.
Well, I tell you what, they were mad after the game, though. They were mad that title is in Tennessee.
Should have been louder. Should have been louder during that drive. I guess they were saving all the energy for the post-game videos of them expressing their displeasure with losing to Tennessee, but you should have been louder during their last drive. That's what you should have been doing. I mean, that felt like a home game on offense. Crowd was quiet. 865-255-03. We'll come back. The last segment of the morning. We'll hit the text box, the Betty Chevrolet text box. Ben McKee, Go Vols 247. I'm Jason Swain. Stay with us. Be right back.
What's up, Swain Event family? It's great to be on board. This is Taylor Hawkins with Modern Woodman Fraternal Financial, and I have one question for you. When was the last time you have slowed down and evaluated your financial situation? Just like the Vols, a great game plan leads to victory. Let us help you achieve your financial goals with a custom-made game plan. No matter what stage of life you're in, protecting your family and hard-earned money is important. So let one of our local and trusted financial professionals secure your future by visiting one of our 10 branch offices across Tennessee, or give us a call locally at 865-312-5638. And remember, go Vols.
Registered representative and investment advisor, representative offering securities and advisory services through NWA Financial Services, Inc., a wholly owned subsidiary of Modern Woodmen of America, member of INCRA, SIPC.
Hey there, Swain Event fam. If you're currently renting and just about priced out of your place, give me a call. Jennifer Morris with Keller Williams Realty at 865-257-7897. You may be able to buy a home and have monthly payments less than your rent. And wouldn't you rather pay your own mortgage than someone else's? Hope to hear from you soon, and go Vols.
Here in Knoxville, we love it when a squirrel's in the checkerboards. But when there's a squirrel in our attic, that's all sides. When that happens, call Alpha Wildlife. They're Knoxville's veteran-owned and operated wildlife removal company. When unwanted critters put their feet up on your coffee table, call 865-224-6555. Let the Tennessee fans at Alpha Wildlife evict those unwanted tenants and set your home up with a winning defense to keep that wildlife where it belongs. That's Alpha Wildlife at 865-224-6555. They have locations in Nashville, Memphis, Chattanooga, and in parts of South Carolina. Check them out online at alphawildlife.com.
We're here with Dr. Michael Carlson of Tennessee Regenerative Sports Medicine to discuss stem cell treatment and PRP. If you have orthopedic injuries, you should give them a call.
That's right, Jason. We specialize in regenerative non-surgical orthopedics. So we treat damaged tendons, ligaments, and joints by using ultrasound-guided injections with stem cells or PRP. And this form of treatment actually stimulates the body's own reparative process and allows for healing of the damaged tissue.
So, Doc, what makes your training different than others?
Well, Jason, I've been practicing in Knoxville for 26 years, and I'm certified in interventional regenerative orthopedic medicine through the American Academy of Orthopedic Medicine. At Tennessee Regenerative Sports Medicine, I'm the one doing the procedure, and we're using your own bone marrow stem cells or PRP. So in other words, it comes from you and it goes back to you. So you know exactly what you're getting and know exactly the level of training involved.
Tennessee Regenerative Sports Medicine, trsportsmedicine.com. East Tennessee's leader in PRP and stem cell therapy. When you are craving some quality barbecue, there's only one place to go. Dead End Barbecue. Dead End Barbecue has been featured on ESPN's Taste of the Town, the first barbecue restaurant on the SEC Network, CBS Sports, Headline News Tailgate Show, Amazon Prime's The Restaurant Comeback, Food Paradise, and named one of the top 100 barbecue restaurants in America. The search is over. Dead End Barbecue is located on 3621 Sutherland Avenue right here in Knoxville. You can even have it delivered right to your door through Chow Now. Visit their website at deadendbbq.com. Dead End Barbecue. The search is over.
The conversation doesn't stop when the show is over. Follow the Swain Event on Twitter and like the show on Facebook.
This is when it gets real. College football, they remember what you do in November. November is great. But November also is a reminder that it's almost over, because the first college football playoff rankings are going to come out, and Rusty wanted to know our top six. I'll be honest, Rusty. Me and May agree or disagree here, but I've been all on Tennessee, following Tennessee. Of course, I watch every good game that I can outside of covering Tennessee. But I will say Michigan should be number one, or Georgia.
Over Georgia?
Yeah, you can interchange those. It wouldn't really matter to me, honestly. But you can put those guys right there at 1 and 2. I think at number 3. I would roll with Florida State over Ohio State, and I would roll with Washington right there. And then I think the first one-loss team needs to be Oregon, what they did to Washington. I think Texas probably should be in front of Alabama. Texas' only loss is to an Oklahoma team in a rivalry game. But I think my 6 would be the same 6 that are listed right now in the AP Top 25. I wouldn't change any team. Now you can change the order if you want to, but that would be my top 6. Ben, what about you?
Yeah, I agree with you. I would have the same top 6 as the AP poll currently, but I would definitely change the order. I'd have Georgia 1. I'd have Washington 2nd. I think Washington's resume is more impressive than Michigan and Ohio State's. But the problem is I'd have to kick somebody out of the top 4. I think personally for me, I think I would kick out Ohio State. They haven't necessarily passed the eye test for me to this point in the season. Their win over Penn State recently was impressive, but outside of that, they've kind of been skating by. They had the road win over Notre Dame as well, so they do have some nice wins. It's just they're not pretty to watch, but hey, they're winning football games, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. But I think I'd go Georgia, Washington, Michigan, Florida State as my top 4, and then have Ohio State 5th and Oregon 6th.
Yeah, I think the 6 are right, and I think at the end of the day, like Georgia and Ohio State is going to cancel each other out. Michigan and Ohio State is going to cancel each other out. There's a lot of football that's going to be played. It's going to work out, and it's going to shake out the top. 4 teams will probably be the right 4 teams. It's normally been like that since we switched over to the college football playoff, but I think those 6 are the right 6. You can change the order if you want to, but I think those are the right 6. Going to the text box, how excited are y'all for basketball season? Connect looks legit. Dude. Tennessee did what they did without Zakai Ziegler and Santi, 2 All-SEC players. And I know it's 9:47 right now. We could do a whole nother show on this basketball team. That was a great atmosphere. That was a great performance by our new players. There's a lot to correct with turnovers, but man, that was great. And don't let these Michigan State fans try to make it seem like, oh, well, we know that was y'all Super Bowl. Stop trying to play both sides of the fence. Kentucky football fans, you do the same thing. Stop doing this. Stop making videos pissed off that you lost, but then also saying, well, we know how much y'all care about the game and how's y'all Super Bowl. So you're not supposed to be excited about winning the game? So are you saying that your team sucks and we shouldn't be excited about playing and beating a team that stinks? Like, we're going to beat UConn this weekend, okay? And I can promise you no one's going to be celebrating the way that we celebrated after beating Texas A&M in Kentucky. So as a Kentucky fan, you should feel good about your program that teams are happy that they beat you. That means you're better. There was a point in time that the players didn't celebrate beating Kentucky because it was understood. It just happened because you stunk so bad. Stop trying to play both sides of the fence, man. Like, you sound ridiculous. You really do. Guys are happy when they win.
I don't understand
That's
why
sports.
Michigan State would be calling out Tennessee when
I saw a little bit.
They sold out the arena and they seem to be acting as if it was a big basketball game as well.
Dude, perfect point. Like, wait, y'all showed up like it was a national championship game. Now, I'm glad that they showed up because it was for the Maui efforts and it was for a great cause, but stop trying to make yourself feel good about losing by trying to demean the team that won. Well, it was your Super Bowl, so I mean, like, that's the stupid stuff Spencer Rattler said. Bro, you lost. You lost. Something that you tried to avoid doing. You wanted to win. This is why you prepared. This is why you practice. This is why you play hard. But you lost. Don't try to demean the winner. Don't try to downplay the significance of the win for the winner when you just lost. I don't get why people do that. It's weak. It is weak sauce to me. Checking the text box out, Ben. While we do that, make sure, and I was having a really good conversation with one of our callers about this time of the year, how important it is that you make sure you take care of your mentals. And mind, body, wellness here in Knoxville, they are accessible, they are affordable, they are available. They offer a really, really unique and cool approach to mental health therapy. It's healthcare that works for you. Specialized approach to care. You can make appointments online at mindbodyknoxville.com. You can schedule a mental wellness assessment. They will design a plan for your mental wellness, and that's super important as we approach days where they're going to be shorter. The sun's not going to be out as much, and so we have veterans. We have older people that tend to be alone more this time of the year. Take care of yourself. Take care of your mentals. Use your resources. Mind, body, wellness in Knoxville's resource for you. That is mindbodyknoxville.com. Benjamin, have y'all found y'all a house yet to move into?
Not yet, but we
Knoxville?
are putting Jennifer Morris to work. There's no doubt about that. And we are trying to we love our first home that we bought, but with a baby due in March, gonna have 2 under 2. We got a dog. It's already time to find a bigger house, and we are certainly putting Jennifer Morris to work. And you can also put Jennifer Morris to work if you are in the market to buy or rent or do whatever you want to do in real estate. I say it all the time. Jennifer is the absolute best, and there is a reason that I use Jennifer as well with my family. So again, can't encourage you enough to reach out to Jennifer if you have any questions about real estate. And Jennifer is really doing it big now. It's not just for people in East Tennessee or looking to move to East Tennessee. You can check out her new website, nextmovesmokymountains.com. You can search for homes, check out info about Tennessee communities, and connect with her. And she will take all the stress of anything real estate away from your life. And I think that's the best part about what Jennifer does, and the most that you can ask for. So get in touch with Jennifer to accomplish all of your real estate aspirations.
Love it. Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. Last but not least, as we exit today, Hiller has a $99 drain cleaning special, so take advantage of that. Also, half off HVAC tune-ups going on for the rest of this month, which is today. Happy Halloween to everyone. Be safe, be careful. Be careful with that dad tax guys out there trying to take the kids candy. Snickers, Twix, M&Ms. Be careful out there, dads. Be careful. Ben, anything you want to add before we wrap up today's program?
Nope. I enjoyed the weekend. Fun weekend for Tennessee athletics with football and basketball picking up big wins. Basketball back in action tonight against Lenore-Rhine in the second and final exhibition of the preseason. Their regular season opener is a week from today. They'll play Tennessee Tech next Tuesday night at 6:30. Tonight's game is also at 6:30. Will not be on TV. Will be streamed on SEC Network Plus, and football should pick up a fairly easy win this Saturday as it turns the corner to two big upcoming games against Missouri and Georgia following that. And baseball back in action this weekend in Nashville over at the Sound Stadium, playing Sanford in their second and final exhibition of the fall as well. So busy time for Tennessee athletics, and look forward to talking with you on Thursday once again. Even the Lady Vols are in action. Picked up a big exhibition win over Carson Newman last night at Thompson Bowling Arena at Food City Center. So a lot going on in the Tennessee athletics world, and always looking forward to Tuesdays and Thursdays with you, my friend.
Swain Event, fueled by Dead End Barbecue, top 100 barbecue restaurant in America. We'll be back on Thursday. Peace and much love. We are out.